What's up? Hey, everybody. I'm really excited about this. I know that we normally edit videos and put them up here, but I decided to do something different for 2024, new year, new me. And I will be going live for the next 14 days. Yes. Well, for the majority of the days, for the next 14 days at 12 p.m. Eastern, sharing content for event planners. And I know some of you on here may be planning an event, planning a wedding. Or planning a corporate event and you're following, and we love you, we love you, we love you. This you're welcome to watch, by the way. But this series is for event planners because you guys are our longtime subscribers. I found that people who've been following and subscribing and watching for years and years are people who are event planners, right? A lot of times, once people have completed planning their event, you kind of stop clicking our videos, which makes us sad. But I wanted to do something for our longtime subscribers who are event planners, and I'm really excited about that. Hello, hey guys who are commenting in the chat. Welcome, Promise, and everyone else who's on. I'm really excited about having you. For those of you who are tuning in live, do me a favor, just let me know where you're tuning in from. So city, state, country. I always love to know who's tuning in because, of course, on YouTube it doesn't show me unless you leave a comment. So let me know because it's always helpful. I love seeing people, meeting new people, and remembering new names. So today's stream is called Decide to Be Successful. All right. And it's the beginning of, like I said, our 14-day series, which is for event planners. So our 14-day series is called Dear Event Planner, Decide. And then today's topic is Decide to Be Successful. And I feel the need to talk about this because a lot of times, of course, I coach event planners. And a lot of times people feel like things are just out of their hands, right? And it's like, I don't know, like everything's just out of my hands. But the truth is that it's not. A lot more is in your hands than you think. And so today I want to talk through what it looks like to decide to be successful. All right. Now, as usual, before I go too far into this video, I want to introduce myself really, really briefly in case this is the first video you're seeing. My name is Faye Shala. I'm the owner of an event planning company called Statuesque Events. We've been in business for just shy of 13 years, and we love what we do, producing weddings, corporate events, conferences, and more for couples and for organizations, right? In addition to that, I am also a coach. The name of my program is called Planners Who Profit. We have a series of programs, including our accelerator, as well as Planners Who Profit Live, our annual event, where we coach event planners into their next level. So generally speaking, on this channel, when you are in Planners Who Profit, we are speaking to experienced event planners, people who already know how to plan events start to finish, people who have done it before, and people who are ready to grow. I'm talking doubling your prices, doubling your revenue. I'm talking high-end clients. I'm talking about getting featured in the press. I'm talking about going full-time. I'm talking about hiring a team. Those are the next level things that we talk about in Planners Who Profit. All right. And so, like I said, today we're talking to event planners, and I'm excited about all of this. More information about us, of course, is in the description. It's in the description of almost all of our videos, so you can learn more about us and how you can connect. So today I want to talk about deciding to be successful, deciding. And the reason I wanted to start with this is in my own life, my business changed like immensely when I decided to be successful. Like when I decided that that things weren't going to be the same, I wasn't going to let life happen to me, but I was going to decide, right? So I can think of a couple of distinct times. So number one, I started my business. I was living in New York, and for personal reasons, I decided to move to the DC metro area. Now at that time, I knew enough about marketing to know that, hey, if I just say what my niche is, that should attract my clients, right? And I tried that. However, there were so many other event planners in the DMV with that niche and specialty of West African, and multicultural events, so many. And I basically was showing up as the new kid on the block, which I didn't like. So I continued commuting to New York all the time to produce events. And after a while, I just got tired. And I decided that it does not make sense for me to move to Maryland and say, this is where I want to build my new home and be driving to New York every weekend, 4 hours, right? And then when traffic hits and all that, right? It doesn't make sense. So I decided, you know what, I need to figure out how to make this work, or I'm just going to focus on my IT job. My background is in engineering, computer engineering. I had a government contracting job in IT that was paying me well, right? And I knew that I wanted to eventually grow my business, but it's one of those things at the back of my head. A lot of times we have these dreams, like we have a dream of eventually growing a business, or we have a dream of our business becoming amazing, but we're not really doing the work. We're just relying on the money that's coming from our day job and just pushing it down the line. But for me, when my business revenue started to basically start to dry up because I had moved, I said, I need to figure out a way for people to know who I am, right? I need to figure out a way that those people who don't already know about these other event planners, who aren't already like immersed in certain communities here. I'm talking people who just moved to Maryland. I'm talking people who just aren't immersed in those communities. I need to figure out how to get those people to find me so that I can start working, right? And then all the other vendors and other people will recognize me because of the work that I'm doing here. Because I'd been living in Maryland for over a year and people didn't even realize I moved for a while, right? And I'm like, no, I need people here to recognize me and all that. And that's only going to come from me doing work. So I did the work to become successful, but all that only came after I decided that there was something wrong with what I was doing. And I decided that it wasn't going to just change automatically if I just continued doing the same thing for longer, right? I have met people who have been doing budget events for 2 decades, for 2 decades, for 3 decades. It doesn't change automatically just because you spend more time in the industry. Spending more time in the industry is in and of itself is not going to do anything. If anything, you could stay in the same cycle for years and years and years, right? While one of the clients that I work with in our program, she went full time in her business before she even hit year 4, 6 figures full time by year 4. I didn't even do that. Again, I didn't have a coach to guide me, but I didn't even do that, right? So comparing that person to somebody who's been doing it for decades and still is not making anywhere near that, like time in and of itself is not going to fix anything. You have to make a decision to do the work and move forward. You also have to make a decision to be successful, which starts by deciding what success even looks like. What does success even look like for you, right? It's different for all of us. For some of you, you've deemed your business as a side hustle. You just like, this is just a side hustle, it's just something I do for fun and for likes. And, it's just a side hustle. If you can make $200 a month from it, that's cool, right? Then that's your goal. You're probably never going to go too far beyond that, right? But if you decide that you're running a business, your goals might be different, right? And so you have to decide, what does successful look like to you? For me, when I made, this brings me to the second big decision I made. I got to a point, I was around year, I don't know, year 5 in business or so. And I said, I'm tired of just paying myself whatever's left over, right? I can't keep doing this. Like, that's not how real businesses run. I do good work. I need to get to the point where I am paying myself a salary. And that was a decision I made. And whatever, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to do the work, I'm going to analyze my work. When we work with people in our program, the first thing we do is help them figure out what you're going to start paying yourself today and stick with it and figure out how to keep giving yourself a raise. And I did that exercise and I said, you know what? This is where I am. This is where I want to be in a year. And ideally, this is where I want to be in 6 months. I want to be able to give myself a raise because I do good work. At year 5, if you've been doing it for a while and you've been doing good work, positive testimonials and all that, you should be paying yourself something. It shouldn't just be like everything. Yes, you're reinvesting into the business, but it shouldn't be every single thing gets reinvested into the business, right? Because at that point, something is wrong. So I decided that for me, that was success, right? And I'm talking short-term success. A lot of times when I ask people what is success, they're like, oh, I want to have a business that brings generational wealth that I can hand down to my child and that, I can build a nonprofit out of it. And it's just like, okay. But what is success within a year? What is success within 2 years, right? Let's focus in on that and actually hit that so that you're running a business that's at least able to pay you, that's at least bringing in revenue, and then you can start thinking of the next level, right? And then eventually work backwards to that big goal that you have eventually. So that is one of the things you want to do. No, so I have 3 things that you want to do as you're deciding to be successful, right? I just talked in general about deciding like what those decisions can be when it comes into deciding to be successful. I'm not talking about declaring I'm going to be successful. Be specific. I'm going to start paying myself a salary in 6 months. I'm going to do 5 events in the next year. You know what? I'm going to stop doing 30 events a year and I want to trim down to 12 events a year, but I still want to make a 6-figure salary. Like, what is success to you, right? Defining it. We just talked about that. Now, a few things that you want to, that are really important. Number 1, do you feel called to be an event planner? Now, for those of you who are watching live, if you're watching the replay, First of all, hello. Let me know where you're tuning in from. But let me know. I want to know, do you feel called? Yes. Do you feel called? No. I mean, sometimes we have people apply to our program. Our program is called Planners Who Profit, like I mentioned earlier, and they'll say, "My ultimate vision is to build, a luxury venue, and I want to eventually get into, travel, just random stuff that has nothing to do with being an event planner." And for me, you don't need to be an event planner to open a venue. Most venue owners did not start as event planners. Some did, but you don't need to be an event planner to start a venue. So why are you like, if you see this as a transient pass through thing, you're not going to give it your all. You're not going to do what you need to do to grow the business, right? So if you don't feel called to event plan, you have to reassess why you're doing it. And again, feeling called doesn't mean this is the only thing you're going to do for the rest of your life. You're allowed to change your mind. But in this season of your life, do you feel called to be an event planner? Is this your passion? Is this the thing that you want to grow, right? And is this something you see yourself doing for a minimum, at least maybe the next 5 years? I want to say three, but at least 3 to 5 years, that giving your all and building a brand around it, building, your clientele. Is this something you feel called to do? If not, if you see it as a side hustle to practice into getting into something else, you're probably not going to do the work. You probably want to just study how to do that other thing, right? A lot of times, one of the first, I will never forget, like the first client that I had ever, that I'd seen go to six figures through our program. I will never forget, I had a conversation with her and I asked, like, what is your ultimate goal? And she was like, I love this. Like, I love planning weddings. I love seeing people fall in love. I love seeing people do their unique things. I love solving problems. I love being there on the wedding day. Like, I can't right now think of anything else that I would rather be doing than this. This is my dream to do, right? And it showed in her results because she was halfway to six figures in 3 months of us working together. It showed because she was willing to go after. And this is someone with a child. This is someone with a job, right? So don't use any of those things as I don't want to say an excuse, but someone with not just a child, a husband, a job, like all of the things, right? At that period, we were in the pandemic. This was before we had even a vaccine, right? Before cities and states even opened up, and she started seeing these results. Don't work like Stop making excuses about the economy or all the negative things. Do you feel called? Is this what you want to do? If so, do the work to go after it, right? And that's what we do with our clients, is showing you the path so you could do the work and get there. So, but the first question I want you to answer is, do you feel called to be an event planner? Right? It takes work. It takes a lot of work. I mean, and I'm not even gonna lie to you, if you don't feel called, even if you're making $20,000 per wedding, it's gonna frustrate you because it takes a lot to manage people's emotions and their budgets and the changing ideas. It takes a lot if you are not passionate about it, and it makes it even that much harder to be successful. So deciding to be successful starts with deciding and being honest with yourself. Do I feel called to this? And if you feel called to it, you need to lean in. You need to lean in and say, okay, if I feel called to this, let me invest and do more, right? If you do not feel called, you want to take a step back and say, well, why do I not feel called? Was I just frustrated? Did I just have a bad season and I just need to rest for a little bit? Or is there really just something else that's calling my name and I just went with this as a fad, right? You really want to think that through, right? There's a reason that most businesses don't last past 5 years. Most businesses are completely dead, veiled after 5 years. And I don't want you to be one of them. The people that we coach are usually well beyond, they're usually past 5 years, or if they're approaching 5 years, they know that this is what they want to do, right? Because they've made that decision. So you got to decide, do you feel called to be an event planner? Number two, goal setting. And I know that this is January at the time of recording this. It's January. It is vision board season. And a lot of people are just setting goals and writing lists and all of that. And I want to say, just because you write a long list doesn't make your goals any better. Sometimes goal setting is not about writing a long list. You're actually less likely to accomplish that much if you have a super long list, right? It's not about just saying, I'm going to do this year and just coming in hard with a bunch of stuff. What I want you to do is think about goal setting in a different way. A long time ago, about a year and a half or so before I bought my first home, I remember I went through a program called Financial Peace University. They were offering it at my church, and I just went through it, right, to learn more about finances God's way, saving, and all that stuff. And one of the things that I learned in that stuck with me for a long time is that it's important to send your money on an errand. If you setting your money on an errand will help you to manage your money so much better. So decide what that means is that your money should have a purpose. There should be a purpose behind your money, right? So for me, every month there's a certain portion that I send on an errand to my local church, right? There's a certain portion that I send on an errand to groceries. There's a certain portion I send on an errand to restaurants so that if I want to go out with my friends, I have that set aside, right? It's not like, oh, I'm splurging on I'm splurging. No, I set it aside, right? So I know whether I can, I've set these things aside. By the way, budgeting is always great. If you ever want to go full time in your business, starting with a budget is good so you know what it costs you to live every month to keep up your lifestyle. That's a good start, right? Knowing what your own lifestyle costs helps. So sending your money on an errand. And so I took a step back and eventually I had to start saying, how do I apply this to my business? Right? My money should be sent on an errand. And I think that when it comes to pushing yourself to your goals and reaching them, I sent my money on an errand. I decided eventually, I told you I took that class a little bit before I bought my home. And then when I got close to the point where I was about to buy the home, I said, you know what? When I buy this house, I don't want to pay the minimum mortgage. I want to be able to pay off my home early. I want to have equity in my home. I don't want to pay off this mortgage for 15 or 30 years. I want to pay it off early. And I want if random hardship hits, then fine, I'll pay the minimum. But I don't want the minimum to be my standard. I want my standard to be, at the time, my goal was $2,000 above what the minimum payment was, right? Because I wanted to get hefty. I wanted to get equity. For those of you who are in America, I wanted to get rid of my PMI as fast as possible. Private mortgage insurance, I wanted to pay that down, right? So what I did, that became my goal. I need to get to a point where my business is paying me $2,000. So my job is paying for my basic necessities. My job is paying for my mortgage. It's paying for all my money, all that stuff in my basic budget that I set up. And my business needs to pay that extra cushion. And that was what I did for quite a while, right? And at first I didn't quite hit it. I was probably closer to like, you know, 900, $1,000 a month. Gave myself a raise, and eventually got to the point where I was given an extra 2 grand. And that was the errand I sent my money on. Now, for some of you, now again, the reason that was what I chose is because I already paid off my student loans by that point. If I had not paid off my student loans, that would have been number one for me, right? Maybe, hey, maybe you have $20,000 left in student loans and you want to pay it off in 2 years. Going to be completely student loan free within 2 years. That's sending your money on an errand. And these things are doable. I want you to know it's doable. I think that sometimes when you don't have a specific goal, you don't have a specific vision, it's easy to just kind of be like, well, I didn't hit my goals this year. Maybe next year. I don't know. But when you set a specific goal, you know exactly what you're measuring towards. When you set a goal, you're less likely to give discounts all the time. Like you're more likely to stick to your goals when you set it, right? So so I want you to think about one one goal that you have for your money that is coming out of your business. Because I know a lot of people who are watching this have a day job and a business, and there's nothing wrong with that. I did phenomenal things during the period where I had my job and my day job and my business. I was featured in magazines. I was on TV. I, did beautiful weddings. Like I did all those things during the period where I started my day job. There's nothing wrong with that. I actually think you should do it until the money that you're making from your business matches the money that you're making from your job. Right? So that when you leave your job, you have money. That's a smart way to do it. So for those of you who are full-time, your goal is probably to pay your bills, right? Excuse me. Of course, this happens while I'm on live. All right. For those of you who are full-time, your goal is probably, hey, I want to be able to pay my bills, which that's good. But if you're part-time, and especially if you've never paid yourself, if you've never really had much left over at the end of the year, you want to work yourself up to it. So set a goal and send your money on an errand. I don't care what it is. It can be like I said, paying down debt, student loan debt, mortgage. It can be to a savings account. Maybe you're like, I want to have $30,000, $40,000 in my savings account by a certain, but within the next 2 or 3 years. Let that be your goal, right? And go ahead and set that money aside, and start working towards that goal and then work backwards, right? Because again, paying yourself 2,000 from your business, you can't pay yourself 2,000 from your business if that's your revenue. You still got to pay taxes. You got to pay your assistants for events. You're probably paying for some tools. You probably are paying for education to get to this level of business. Truthfully, most people require coaching. Most people are not getting having six-figure businesses with no coaching whatsoever, right? Most people are not. I would say at least 80% of people are getting coaching and education. So set money aside for that. Set money aside for if you have a bookkeeper. I mean, you got to work backwards from all your expenses and then figure out how do I then take out the 2,000, right? Or 1,000 or whatever your goal is to put towards your goal. So number one, do you feel called? Number two, what is your goal? What is your goal? What are you setting your money on an errand for? That's just one question. There are a lot of other goals you can answer for yourself, but that's just one question. As far as your goal, as far as financial goals, I want you to figure that out and write it down. Even if it sounds scary, write it down because again, you can decide, oh, I want to pay off my student loan debt and I have $30,000 in loan debt. That may be a goal that you set over 3 years and you may hit it early, but hey, I want to hit this over 3 years. Or maybe I want to hit this in 2 years, which means you need to make at least, you need to be able to pay yourself at least 15,000 per year after all your expenses. Maybe you even hit it in one. If you're like, hey, I'm already paying myself money for my business, I need to figure out how to increase that. Hey, then that becomes your goal. You got to set it, right? And then the third thing is figuring out your gaps. I talked a lot about education and about how, most people who are building amazing businesses, they have coaches. Most professional, all professional athletes who are doing amazing work have coaches. They listen to advice. They go to people who are ahead of them, who keep them sharp, and frankly, just have a second eye looking at what they're doing. But someone who actually has done what you have done. Most people in our program have worked with other coaches before or done other programs before coming with us, and they all say it's just night and day working with someone who's actually an event planner versus someone who's talking about strategies that may not work as well in our industry, right? You can't nurture somebody for a year before they buy when their event is in less than a year, right? There's just certain things that don't work as well in our industry, and if you don't want to do the work to, that's a whole nother story. But I would just talked about education, and the way for education to work is for you to decide what are your gaps, what do you need to learn, what are the things that you need to figure out in order to get the end result that you want. What are they? Is it that you need to figure out how to get people to actually start to find you and inquire about your services online? That's marketing, right? Is it I keep talking to people and they keep on not booking? That's sales. Is it I have two clients and I have absolutely no time in the day, right? I'm swamped with two clients and I know I need more clients to make money, but I mean, I don't this is already overwhelming. There you need some systems. You need some structured systems in there and possibly teamwork, right? So is it, oh, I can't find any, is it pricing? And it's always mindset. Mindset is always part of the equation. By the way, everything I just listed is all of what we talk about in our program, because we find that, most people need at least varying degrees of help with all of it. But what is the most emergent, the biggest emergency that you need to fill? You should know that. If you don't know that, you're probably not going to make progress, right? And by the way, if you do apply, to our program, we'll send, you'll be able to go through a, we'll send you, the next steps so that you can go through a process of going through a 10-step quiz that will pretty much answer the question of where you're stuck, right? It's a live quiz, but you're going to go through it and find out where you're stuck. But these are things that you need to figure out. What is your gap? And then what's your goal to fill it, right? So instead of just saying, oh, yeah, like I need X and Y, what are you going to do to get it? Are you going to go out there and learn? Are you going to, like, what are you willing to do to get what you want, right? So those are the things that I want you to figure out. I gave you some tips on things that could be your gap. It could be something else. You're welcome to let me know. But your homework is that I would love for you guys to let me know in the comments, what is your gap goal? Like, what is your gap goal? Like, is it I need to this year is going to be a year where I need to figure out how to get more leads, right? Or this is going to be the year that I need to figure out how to get higher quality leads, or this is going to be the year that I figure out how to close more sales, or this is going to be the year where I figure out how to set boundaries so that I can do good work, but I'm still not overwhelmed, or this is going to be the year where I figure out my time management so I can get more done in a day. Whatever your gap goal is, I would love for you to leave it in the comments, either live or on the replay. Okay. And for those of you guys who are on live, welcome, welcome, welcome. I see more people. We're wrapping up here, but I would love to know who's on. So let me know in the comments. Let me know. Just comment and just say where you're tuning in from. Right. Like just city, state, country. I would love to see where you're tuning in from. All right. So I already shared the gap. Homework. And I would also love, I have to say, for you guys to join me in person at Planners Who Profit Live. It's taking place from April the 17th to the 19th in Miami, Florida, 2024. Guys, you don't want to miss it. Every year we have our event and people comment and DM and say, oh my gosh, I can't believe I missed this. Oh my gosh, maybe next year. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I missed this. But I want to tell you that this year is going to be even better. Even better. So we have so much planned. Like, we're going to be sharing more content. The agenda is coming out soon. Our attendee guide is coming out soon for attendees. But yeah, it's good. And frankly, the event has already started. We have monthly pre-event sessions. It's a bonus for those who register early. I know a lot of people like to wait to the 11th hour. We don't want that. We want you to commit early. So we've been having monthly sales sessions. Last month was phenomenal. We have one this month. It's on the 31st. So if you register before the 31st, you'll get to join us for this month's session where I'll be talking about the anatomy of a 5-figure event planning package. So if you're like, man, I just need to figure out how to start selling packages for $10,000 or at least near there or get closer to that or 15,000 or wherever you're trying to get, we're talking about that at the, on the 31st. So you're not even necessarily waiting until April to get the information that we're going to be sharing. This is a truly immersive, truly high level conference. It's not a conference, live event. It's going to be amazing. And to be honest, you're also going to have time to enjoy Miami because it's not, you're going to have time to enjoy Miami with our recommendations and all of that. It's going to be really good, amazing content. The community is going to be phenomenal, and it's going to move you forward. We get results every single year from people who attend. So you definitely want to carve out time to attend Planners Who Profit Live in Miami, Florida. All right. So all the links, all that information is in the description box. I'm not sure if you guys watching live can see the description box, but it'll be there once we're done. And of course, you can visit plannerswhoprofit.com/live, LIVE. And you can also go there to learn more about Planners Who Profit Live as well. All right. You can DM and all that good stuff. So I see, hello, I'm currently a florist and an event designer, but I'm thinking about only servicing the event planning agency, only becoming a helper. What is your thoughts? Whew, I have a lot of thoughts about this. Okay. I'm assuming when you say event designer, when you say florist and event designer, I'm assuming event designer means event planner and designer, or if it's just event design. Event design is one of the is a and by the way, for those who are watching, I know not everybody knows this. Event planning, event design, and floral design are 3 different roles. They are 3 different roles, right? However, most of the time, event planners, especially those who are able to draw in luxury clients, are also designers. So most of the times the event planner is the planner and the designer, and sometimes a florist is also a designer. I found that most florists are kind of like, tell me what you want, like they need the design and then they price the design and then they execute the design. But there are some florists who are also designers as well. It's just becoming less common these days. Event planners usually are doing that. So I think that, what do I think? So that was my first thought, is that those are 3 different things. I think that if you want to, I think there might be a slight typo in here, so I'm just gonna explain it the way I understand. If it's not if it's not answering your question, please leave another comment. But it sounds like you're thinking about becoming an event planning agency only, right? Probably with a design as well, that you know how to design. By the way, I used to do floral design and event planning, and my business grew when I left the floral design behind and focused just on event planning, right? My business grew when I did that. Obviously, my profit margin was much higher because I didn't have to worry about materials and storage and all of that. But it was also my passion. And also, one thing that I always share is that people who are paying premium are not looking for a bundled deal. They are looking for the best. They're looking for the best. A lot of times when I always say when you are um, looking at a celebrity wedding or just looking at a socialite's wedding, who spent a lot of money on their wedding, you will see that there is never, and I can say this with 10 toes down, there's never a time where the event planner is also the florist. In the times that the event planner is also the florist, those are always moderate to budget weddings, right? But the times when you start getting to super higher end events, that's usually when they're separate. Sometimes, like, and I'm talking like when I talk about people wanting the best, let's talk about a different industry because sometimes when it comes to event planning, we're so in it that it's hard to see. You have people who have a hairstylist, they have a stylist, they have a makeup artist, and then they have like a wardrobe. Like it's like they have all these different things for just their attire. How much more a huge production, right? Where there's different hands involved. And I say all that to say that when people are spending more and more and more, they just want the best. They just want to make sure that I'm getting the best. This event is only happening once. I want the best. I want the cream of the crop. And when you start saying I can do this and I can do that, you sound like that person. We've all had that person in our neighborhood when we grew up who's like, oh yeah, I'm a hairstylist, but on the side, I also fix cars and I also cater too. So pretty much whatever you need, I could do it for you. That person just seems like somebody who just wants money versus seem like looking like an expert. And so for me, I didn't decide to leave floral design behind necessarily for that reason. I left it because I just didn't like the behind the scenes work for it, right? I didn't want to deal with I just didn't want to deal with cleaning vases or hiring people to clean vases and storage and loading docks and trucks. I just was like, I want to focus on being with my clients. And it took me a long time to realize which one I wanted to specialize in. So I don't regret the fact that I started with both. But once I realized, I let go of the other one. There was some emotions with that too, but I allowed those emotions to process, let go of that, and I started to produce way higher end events, right? By focusing on one. I also found that I was repelling clients, honestly, when I was doing both. People would be like, "Are you a planner or a florist?" I'm not. I'm confused. And you know what a confused mind does? A confused mind always says no. And I lost every single one of those clients. Zero of the clients who were confused about which one I did, and when I clarified, oh, we do both, and we can give you a great rate, and all, none of them booked because they were confused, and they're like, I don't understand. Right. And so I think that that was something that I did. So what do I think about that? That's that. I do have a separate thought. You said, I want to only become a helper. Ooh, event planners are not helpers. That kind of hit me a little bit in my gut. An event planner is not a helper. An event planner is a leader. A luxury event planner is a leader. You're a director. You're a project manager. On the day of, you're the director. You're the one directing everybody. That's what you should be. Now, a lot of event planners are helpers, and it's kind of given us a bad rap. I don't know how many times I've gone to venue visits and I've had a venue be like, oh, wow, you're really good. Like most planners I work with, they're late. They forget about the meetings. They need to be reminded about this and that. That's no, your job is to be the one on top of everything. You are a director. If you want to be a high-end planner, you want to be successful, people who are successful are directors. They're the ones calling the shots. Not just on the design, but on everything. We're directing this is what I need, this is what I need, right? They're bringing that oversight. And so it's not helping, it's oversight. Most times people need clarity. So it's not and the difference between the two, because some of you might be like, well, what's the difference? Is being a director helpful? Of course it is. First of all, it is significantly more helpful than being a helper, right? But being a director, the difference between being a director and being a helper is, let's say, a you order a photo booth, something very simple. You order a photo booth. The person delivering the photo booth, a lot of times is not the person who owns the company. So that's a whole other thing. Delivers the photo booth and they're like, where does this go again? A helper says, oh wow, well, I don't really know. Let me figure it out. Let's talk about it. Let's brainstorm about where it should go. That's what a helper does. A director says this is where a director already had the photo booth on the floor plan. And so the director can say it goes there, or a director's assistant can even say where it goes because it was already thought about in advance, right? And so you can say with confidence, it goes here because that's the only corner that has an outlet. We've already thought about this and the fact that you need an outlet, and then there's also already a table there for your props. A director has already thought about these things. And so by the time people come, it's like, oh yeah, hey, welcome. We're really excited to work with you. Let's do that. A director is not now relying on the photo booth company to negotiate with them to figure that out. A director's already asked, how much space do you need for your photo booth? How much, especially like back in the day, now there's fewer photo booths like this, but back in the day, photo booths literally were booths. They were like big boxes. So it's like, how much space do you need? Oh, I need a 10 by 10 box. Great. So you've already thought about this. That's what a director does. So as an event planner, especially if you want to let go of the floral design and focus on this is your job. 90% of your job happens before the event day, thinking things through and laying everything out. These are the sorts of things that we coach our clients through, right? And helping with. I hope that this is helpful. Let me know in the comments if it was helpful, but thanks for asking that question. And I see someone say, this is why I'm fully into services and techniques. We offer a wide range of services, event planning, management, ushering, protocol, hostess, waitress, bouncers. What are your thoughts? I think that it depends on your where you live. So I think that for most people, I would not necessarily recommend all of these things together, but I know that because you're in Nigeria, it is just different. And this is what I think that this is a little bit closer to standard. I think hostesses, maybe, waitresses, not so much. I would probably lean that a little bit more on like maybe the caterers where you could, but definitely. And then also bouncers, I have mixed thoughts about it. But I think that definitely ushering should be, an additional service, which most people will probably book. Protocol is essentially VIP management, right? You're managing the VIPs at the event. So definitely, I would add that hostess and waitress and bouncers. I would say maybe, because bouncers is like it's security, like that's security versus necessarily logistics. So I think that I could go either way. You could work with an outside security company, and then hostess and waitress. I could go either way. You could work with kind of put that on the catering company to manage. Because here's the thing with the catering part: if you're doing the hostess and somebody else is doing the food, it makes it easy for people to blame you when something goes wrong because there's a handoff there. But if everything is coming from a catering company that is full service enough to manage all of this, then it's easier to say, oh yeah, we did our job and we did well, right? And for it to be a cleaner release. So I also see another question. Thank you for your insights. I don't think I explained it well. I'm about to retire and looking to help the event designer industry, like a nursing agency. Yeah, I mean, I think that, yeah, if you want to be an assistant, like I'm sure that there are lots of event planners in your area who need day of support, or maybe even like office support, and you already have the experience and all of that to help them along. So I think that that's great. And I think that, yeah, I would definitely, I think that's something that you could do. Or I don't know if you mean like you want to create an agency. Oh, someone says I can't hear it. Everything seems to be fine on my end. So if anyone else can hear, please let me know in the comments. But if you want to start an agency and then have a whole bunch of event planners working under you, I have an agency. So I have a team of event planners between the DC Metro and New York area who work under me. That's something that I think is great. It's a whole different skill. It's a whole different, that's like next level building of your business. I will strongly recommend hiring a coach to help you with that. But that's something that a lot of our clients are doing in our accelerator program as well. So that's definitely something that you can do, and it's doable. And it's you just have to. It's very doable. It's very, very doable. And that would be great. Then I also see, is your program only for well-seasoned event planner, or is it for anybody with a gift in event planning? Our program is for anyone who is experienced with event planning. Now, we have had some people who have planned a lot of events for their family and friends and just never either got paid for it or only got paid a little bit, and they did amazing. And I'm talking like really short time. So, but this program is not how to plan an event, how to build a budget. Like that's not what we do in this program. There is a foundational element. I'm not going to lie, it's included in the program. So there is a foundational element that I put in there just for the basics, because every now and then a few people are missing one or two basic things. But the truth is that if you're trying to learn how to plan an event start from scratch, and you've never planned an event and you don't really understand a lot of things about just planning events at all because you've just never done it, you're not going to get results as quickly as other people in the program, because you're going to spend probably the first year trying to get your handle of how do I plan an event, right? And then getting into the business part. So we do focus on experienced event planners. We also do have a self-study program for people who are beginners. And if you just want to learn the basics, you want to just get your first client or plan your first event, we do have a self-study program that's available for that, but it's not the core of what we focus on, right? And that's why it is a self-study program. So I hope that that helps. I think that if you're in between, if you're like, well, I've planned some events before, but I don't know, that's definitely when you would apply. This is why we have an application process, right? So if you go to plannerswhoprofit.com, submit an application, we will read your application and tell you which of our programs is the best fit for you. This is why we have an application, right? Just to literally direct you. We're not going to lie to you and say you should do our highest program if maybe the self-study is the best fit, or if maybe, or something else, right? And also, if you don't want to go through an application process, our event, Planners Who Profit Live, that takes place in April the 17th to the 19th in Miami, Florida. Beyond the fact that it's going to be a phenomenal time, that's a perfect place for you to come and mingle with planners at different levels. Again, most are experienced, most are at least, 5 to 7 years in. But even if you have never been paid for an event, being surrounded by that helps you to be like, man, this is really doable, and to go after it. I've had people, like I said, I've had multiple clients who had never been paid for an event, but had done events in the past, go from like booking, like I'm talking like over $20,000 in sales within 2 months after working with us. So there's a difference between whether you've been paid for it and whether you just never plan an event at all. If you're like, I just like looking at pretty pictures online and I want to do that too, that makes you a beginner. If you're like, man, I've planned events, I've planned conferences, I've done all this stuff, that's a different thing, right? So I hope that that's helpful for you, for you to know. That is more what we lean on. I also see, I go to your website, check it out. I'm located in Massachusetts. Okay, awesome. Welcome from Massachusetts. We do have a client. We have an alumni who's in Boston. She did phenomenal. Like, she was one of our clients who was like, I had one full service client last year. I never want to do it. She was ready to just give up and just focus on coordination only because of a client who had sucked up a lot of her time. And within a few months, I kind of worked a little of that trauma out, and we worked on better structures. And the next year she did multiple full service events. And there was a period she had, I think 3 weddings in 2 weeks, and she was still fine. She still had time to take her kids. She has 3 kids, take her kids to the amusement park and all that. Like, not only did she execute, she still had energy to live her life during that period, which is the greatest. Just makes me so happy. Like, my goal is for people to make money and find balance. Like, it's not just about making money, making money and finding balance. Right. And so she did amazing in the program. And yeah, we have people all over the country, but I was just like, yeah, we had someone who was right outside of Boston. So Massachusetts, it's great. Okay, guys, it's 1:00. So I'm going to go ahead and end this. Don't forget, this is the beginning of a 14-day series, 4-day series. It's nice and long. So if you haven't, it's a 14-day series. So make sure that you go ahead when this ends. We're going to have when this ends, I think you'll be able to see the description. I'm not sure if you guys can see the description now, but it has different links of how you can connect with us on Instagram, or apply to our program, or learn more about attending Planners Who Profit Live in April. Please make sure you do that. Make sure you're subscribed if you're not already, because we're going to be doing this every day for the next 2 weeks. All right. So, and I want you to either be able to catch live or catch the replay. Okay. Enjoy. Thanks. And for those of you watching the replay, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments and I will answer them in the next one. Okay. This is like a spillover thing. So I'm excited to have you guys here, and I'll be back again soon. All right. Cheers. The site for the application, I'm going to put in the chat, is plannerswhoprofit.com. So that's the site for the application. I just dropped it, plannerswhoprofit.com. When is the 14-day series starting? Today was the first day of the 14-day series. So we're going to be here every day from today until the 29th, which I believe is a Sunday, every day at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Look out for a new video. It will either be live or 1 or 2 may be pre-recorded, but you will get that for free right here on YouTube just for being a subscriber. Okay, and more information is in the description box on how you can connect with us deeper. Okay, so I'm really excited about having you guys connecting with you, and I look forward to seeing what this brings. All right. Till then. And also I wanted to mention we also have a Profitable Planners Playbook. PPP, Profitable Planners Playbook, that is also free. That is also linked in the description of this chat. Make sure you go ahead and you download that as well as at least one of your next steps. Okay, so make sure you go ahead and take advantage, and I'll catch up with you guys in future videos. Okay, enjoy your day, and thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it.